Soon, Jack rented a condo in Mexico, but in time he was evicted from it after he was arrested for...
Honestly, sounds like me in my freshman year of college, like doing the stupidest shit in the world because I convinced myself in my head that everyone else thinks it's cool, even though it's the lamest thing imaginable. Who doesn't love a good story? Human beings are hardwired to gravitate towards storytelling as their main form of entertainment. Since the day we accidentally flopped out of the ocean and began to evolve, we've been telling stories. Whether it's written, spoken, or performed, there's just something about a good story that tickles our DNA. And today, I want to talk about the best storyteller on YouTube, Oki's Weird Stories. There is no one that puts more effort into their content than Oki. He will fly thousands of miles to bumblefuck nowhere to interview one person for a 45-second clip in his documentary just to get the full scoop and be hands-on with it. No stone goes unturned when it comes to Oki's research. He's somehow able to unearth the most obscure documents and facts about his topics. It's mind-blowing. He'll find like finger paintings from the people that he's talking about back in their 4th grade elementary school, and then interview the teacher who gave them the finger painting assignment 50 years ago. Like, it's incredible how thorough he is. His content is absolutely amazing. So definitely check out his channel if you haven't yet. Today we're going to be going over his newest video, The King of Stolen Valor. This is the story of Jack Edema, which I'd never even heard of before. That name sounded made up to me like an NPC in a video game. But this is a fucking wild ride that Oki lays out and displays beautifully. Oki also has a Patreon, which I'm going to link in the description below. So definitely feel free to support him there as well. Tier 1 tortellini weed shop tonight? No. So Oki wanted me to watch this tonight, and I was going to watch it on my own, but he asked if I would stream it, so I'm going to watch this tonight because I fucking love Oki. And then after that, I'll probably dust off the 360 and try and set that up for some Halo 2 classic lasso runs. So I don't know anything about Jack Edema. Is that how you say it? Edema? So this will be like brand new for me. One of the few times I have no clue who this is about.
This is Jack in Afghanistan, holding an AK-47 and riding on the back of a horse.
That's Steven Seagal.
Here he is on the night of his wedding,
yes,
flanked by 2 security guards, with his bride in his lap.
That guy looks so close to Jason Statham, it's unreal. He's just a little too tall. He looks so majestic.
Jack was not there as an active duty soldier. He was not a private military contractor. Instead, he was a 45-year-old ex-con that entered Afghanistan after 9/11 with the goal of collecting the $25 million reward on Osama bin Laden's head.
Wait, was that a real thing? Did we put a $25 million bounty on Osama bin Laden? We actually did? Man, I don't remember that shit at all. What a fucking crazy time to be alive. What? Damn. Alright, so Jack was out there on that Sigma grind set, about to execute a man for a payday.
Jack just rolled into a war-torn country, pretending to be an active-duty Green Beret, and did it so well that NATO coalition forces helped him apprehend.
I feel like it can't be that hard to blend in like that, though. Especially back then, they're not going to be background checking everyone. He just shows up like, hey, I'm here to help fight. Like, I don't even know if you'd question him. He'd be like, yeah, I'm a Green Beret. Like, alright. I haven't seen you before, but alright.
Down! Hands off!
Eventually, things went way too far after Jack created a fake paramilitary group called Task Force Saber 7,
oh, no,
rented a property which he turned into a private prison, and started torturing Afghans who he suspected to be terrorists.
Jesus
Jack and the rest of Task Force Saber 7 were eventually arrested and charged in Afghan courts. During Phase 1 of his Special Forces qualification course, he was caught stealing. His commanding officer wrote that he had an irrational tendency towards violence after he attacked another officer. In an evaluation report, a captain described him as, quote, without a doubt, the most unmotivated, unprofessional, immature enlisted man that I have ever known.
But you have heard of him. That's not bad, actually. Out of all the people that enlisted, to be, without a doubt, the most unmotivated, unprofessional, immature is actually pretty impressive. More so than just being, like, average in every area. I always find when the pendulum swings, even in the opposite direction, extremely, like, aggressively, so in this case, awful, it's impressive too.
Flipping through the pages of Soldier of Fortune magazine gives you a better sense of why Rambo wannabes loved it so much. Underwater knife fighting techniques. Another example is a multi-part series on urban street survival. Much like most of the soldiers.
Can I read that pamphlet real quick? The underwater fighting techniques are really good. You never know when you might encounter like a rogue Atlantean soldier or something when you're just out at the family lake or something. It says, you in self, find yourself, confine... I can't fucking read it at all, actually. But it looks pretty effective.
Fire! Recover! Re-verify your sights! Holster!
Nice. He's training a full-blown military.
Discrimination training.
Around this time, Jack also started a mail-order business selling paintball equipment and non-lethal military gear. He's still respected to this day by paintball enthusiasts who regard him as a pioneer in the sport who sold high-quality equipment. He also organized Special Forces expos, which attracted the Soldier of Fortune crowd and acted as a venue for him to sell his gear. In 1994, he was arrested along with his girlfriend, Patricia Dawn Glosson, for defrauding 60 companies out of $250,000. In court, Jack legally represented himself. He argued that he was the victim of an FBI plot and claimed that the agency carried a vendetta against him because he did not reveal his sources for the information he provided to them concerning the backpack nuke smuggling operation.
My name is Ronald Gene Barber. I was a member of the Army Intelligence working for NSA. In early 1994, I was charged with the attempted assassination of former President Bill Clinton. I was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison, plus 3 years probation.
Whoa. 5 years for an assassination plot on the acting president? People get more time for weed. Holy shit. Bill Clinton himself was like, yeah, I'll give him 5 years. He didn't really succeed. And he worked for the NSA too. So I feel like that would have absolutely carried like a hefty charge because of all the shit that he must have done for the NSA. That's not what I was expecting. I was 100% expecting a goofy story like, I don't know, like a gas station holdup for Lay's potato chips or something, and just happened to end up in the same maximum security prison as Jack. But yeah, this was a lot more intense than I expected.
Yeah, I was going to get him when he was jogging, and then I was going to hot-foot it over to the White House, leap the fence and run in, and grab her and stomp her to death.
Found guilty of making threats against the president, he was sent to a prison where he met Jack Idema.
So you told me before the last time that we talked that
makes more sense then. All right.
Like a group of people that he...
According to him, he was, quote, one of the only 24 elite super-secret Hua-Rang Do warriors clandestinely trained at Fort Bragg.
What is Hua-Rang Do? I'm going to have to look that martial arts discipline up. Hwa-Rang Do, also known as the Way of the Flowering Knights, is a comprehensive Korean martial art that was developed in the 60s. I want to look up some Hwa-Rang Do. Who's to say that he wasn't like an actual lethal weapon, though, of martial arts? It seems like normal street fighting to me, minus that jumping, spinning kick. This is such a mismatch. Why are these two fighting each other? This guy has 6 inches and 80 pounds on this guy.
He was also a part of the Army's top-secret SOT course, where they trained their elite ninja-type commando teams.
Of course.
So Jack really wanted to adapt his story into a film,
American
and it was while he was in
Commando
prison where he finally
Ninjas.
found an end. He met an award-winning
Naturally.
CBS journalist and documentary filmmaker named Gary Skirka. He told me, quote, "Some people you have to tell to start, but he was the kind of guy that you had to tell to stop." Soon, Jack started a business called the Ultimate Pet Resort with his prison pen pal turned lover, Victoria Runningwolf.
He even hired to train Ronald Reagan's son how to use firearms. Man, it must have been so easy just to make an entire fake personality back in the day. Well, I guess you can still do that today, just not as successfully, I don't think.
Coverage is good, but with me, it's mission first. It's not about
Amen, brother.
If you've been paying attention, you know by now that surely was not the case. Of course, Jack planned to make it all about himself. He recounts that Jack tried very hard to make himself the star of the documentary and said, quote, "He's the dumbest fuck I have ever met." Artists recalled a time when Jack pushed a humanitarian aid worker out of the way so he could pose for a photo op with an expensive EKG machine meant to be delivered to those in need.
Well, and how successful was the photo? I bet that was the best goddamn EKG machine photo op they ever got. They just didn't know what kind of star they had on their hands. He deserved the spotlight. Fucking get the humanitarian workers out of there. They're blocking the light from Jack. I mean, this seems like it's Artis's fault, honestly, not his.
Eventually, Artis became fed up with Jack's behavior and told Gary Skirka that he would not participate in the documentary unless Jack stayed away while they were shooting it.
I took Adema aside and Neil Barrett filmed this. I put my bony finger in his face and said, I don't know what your agenda is, but I don't want you at any of our sites. You're out of my fucking life. Damn. If Adema is needed to make a documentary, then you can take all the tape you shot so far and shove it up your ass. Okay. Playing a little hardball. Maybe he was feeling a little intimidated by Adema's 5'7" stature.
While they were shooting
Seems
it.
a little insecure
On
to
November
me.
11th, 2001,
Can't appreciate a
Gary
good
Skirka was
patriot.
badly injured by shrapnel from an artillery blast and was medevaced back to the United States a few weeks earlier than he planned to leave. A reporter named Tim Friend said that after he and a group of others carried Skirka to safety and dressed his wounds, Jack arrives with a cameraman. Quote, just when we finished dressing Skirka's leg, Jack runs up screaming. He rips off the bandages and redresses the wounds. Basically, he was acting in front of the camera. With Skirka gone, there was no
Jesus
documentary
Christ.
left to work on. Jack was only there as a security guard, not a filmmaker. In October 2001 and June 2002, Jack appeared in over 1,000 U.S. newspapers
Ooh, that's
and
not
over
bad.
250 television news shows.
Damn.
He served as a commentator on Fox News and was paid $500 per appearance. It was a lucrative hustle and it helped fund his stay in Afghanistan. There were hundreds of guys like that in Afghanistan at the time, ex-military types working for PMCs. However, the obvious difference between them and Jack was that they were legit and he was not. As an Afghan
That just
businessman
means
told the
Jack
New York
has no
Times,
red
If
tape.
you're blonde or a Westerner and you're wearing black
He can do
sunglasses,
whatever he needs
carrying
to
a pistol
protect
in
you.
a leg holster, and driving a car without a license plate, nobody would ever question who you are. People just assume you're CIA or Special Forces or someone dangerous.
Yeah, it's like the same thing
People
with like
stay
a
away from you.
clipboard. If you
Even
carry
though
a
Jack looked
clipboard,
the
no one
part,
asks
he
any
gained a
questions.
controversial reputation
Remember that
among
old
many
trick?
war journalists. On one occasion, he pulled out a gun on a journalist named Tom Robertson and shot at him, nearly missing. And the
Oh.
only reason Jack was upset enough to try to shoot him was because Robertson had interrupted him during a discussion.
Jesus Christ. What a maniac.
He gave them to Eric Campbell, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation correspondent I mentioned earlier, who transferred, edited, and verified the authenticity of the tapes so they could be sold to broadcasters.
We've seen it in limited situations, but not in this wide range. Not in a wide range that includes motorcades, close quarter battle, integrated assaults, open air assaults, linear target assaults, a whole spectrum of terroristic activities.
Northern Alliance
A lot of
soldiers
buzzwords in
discovered
there.
the tapes here shortly after
Cyber
the
warfare.
fires fled.
Intergalactic
They come
conflict.
to
The
light
Reapers.
only because
Jack believed that The Peacemaker, a movie released in 1997 starring George Clooney,
What the fuck
had a
is
plot
that?
which was stolen from an assortment of several manuscripts of his life story. The plot of The Peacemaker
That's
does
so
bear some
smart.
similarities to Jack's story, such as its focus on a backpack nuclear bomb smuggling operation. And although the court noted that there were some similarities between the stories,
Hold on. God, I want to read that. Okay. So that seems so vague. Very smart from Jack. Tell vague soldier fanfic and then sue anyone that has anything that remotely resembles it seems. Like, these just seem like circumstantial generic plot points that you'd find in an old 90s movie. Almost worked. True, I mean, he got a lot of lawsuits under his belt.
the claim was dismissed and Jack was ordered to pay $260,079 in legal fees,
Nice.
which he never did. Another person who Jack sued is a man named Eric Cassette, who I was lucky enough to speak to. Eric
you just
Cassette
not
worked at
pay
his
your
father's car
fines?
dealership and repossession
I don't feel
business
like paying
when he
that.
first crossed paths with Jack.
The first day when we first got served papers from him, he rolled up in front of my dad's house with 4 blacked out SUVs fully loaded with special ops guys. He come to my door
I don't know
and
about
knocked
that.
on it with a pizza box in his hand. My niece opened the door, and she was like 5 at the time. He throws the pizza box at her and says, "Now you're served," and threw his summons at us. We were served papers every day.
Fuck.
He killed my dad. He was a criminal. He was a crook, and he was a nasty person to be up against.
Careful what you say about Jack. He's an American hero.
Around
You
this
ever heard of
time,
Tom
Jack
Clancy?
reconnected with his hero, Robin
Yeah,
Moore.
that was
Robin
Jack.
Moore wrote the book The Green Berets, which the John Wayne movie was based on. He also said that he witnessed Jack choking his girlfriend during a fight, and that Jack forged a letter using Fox News stationery in order to submit it as evidence in his lawsuit against him.
That's so fucking nuts. Holy shit. Destroying his own house with a samurai sword and choking his girlfriend in front of people. Bro, what a red-blooded, God-fearing American warrior. I mean, that's what happens when you question Jack. He gets the samurai sword out. I'll tell you what, bub. Fuck with Jack and your whack.
After spending 2 years in the United States, Jack returned to Afghanistan. When Jack returned to Afghanistan in April of 2004, he then arrested the suspected terrorist, Saki, blackbagged him, and stuck him in the back of a car to be taken to Task Force Saber 7's headquarters,
Holy
the Honeycomb
shit.
Hideout.
Shit! Now I'm really mad!
That sounded just like Billy Mays.
I haven't broken a mirror in 7 years, now I just broke another one. Jesus Christ.
After days of interrogation, Saki gave Jack the name of a 30-year-old taxi driver named Sarajan, and said that he was in charge of a plan to assassinate top Afghan officials.
Sharajan makes the decision on who to bomb.
At the first Saber, when the Saber is not there, Sharajan is at the charge. Can Sharajan make?
Can I get a ketchup?
Hours later, Jack and
imagine
Task Force Saber 7
G.I.
raided
Joe.
Sarajan's house.
Yep. There you go. That's Jack. It's like he saw a couple action movies and just based the entire way he moves and operates off of the characters in the movies. Just look at that wide stance. Looking like the Counter-Strike 1.6 cover. Fucking cruising, Jack. What a lethal weapon.
What's this hiding in your rice?
God damn it. I also just love the fact that he 360s, so he just turns around and looks through the exact same door he just came in through. As if all of a sudden he's been flanked by the boogeyman. Man, and people actually took him seriously too, which is wild.
What's this hiding in your rice bag for? What's that hiding in your rice bag for?
Доход бренчи зор скинемоди.
A whole bunch of shit.
Доход бренчи зор скинемоди.
Magazines too.
As you said, Riku, Red.
Inside Sarajan's house, they found some traces of explosives and a detonator hidden inside of a rice bag. Jack repeatedly asked his prisoners who their targets were. The two names that are brought up are the former Afghan Minister of Education, Yunus Konini, and Afghan Defense Minister, General Mohammed Fahim. In footage recorded by Jack's cameraman, Ed Caraballo, the former Afghan Minister of Education thanks Jack for thwarting the attempt on his life.
And I'm thankful for what you have done, especially in this kind of operations. And
He actually did it, what the fuck?
Face such kind of.
So here's my, I don't know if this is accurate, we're not even halfway through the video. I'm imagining all of that was planted, not legitimate, would be my guess. I don't think he actually successfully did anything even remotely helpful. I am imagining he planted all of that, and set people up. That's my guess. I don't know. Maybe he legitimately did help somehow. But given this guy's entire history of never doing anything right and being the biggest scumbag possible, lying and faking everything in his entire fucking life, it would be shocking to me if for the first time in his... how old is he right now? I think he's in his 30s. In his 30-something years, he actually legitimately did something right. I would be shocked. So my guess is it's faked. He planted all the evidence, which I imagine we might get to later down in the video. But I could be wrong. He could have actually helped as well. There's no telling for sure.
On July 5th, 2004, the Honeycomb Hideout was raided by Afghan police forces, who arrested every member of Task Force Saber 7.
Oh,
they were
man,
arrested
Jack.
after Jack called Kabul police chief, Baba John, to turn over the prisoners. After the raid, the police found 8 Afghan men, some hanging by their feet, bound and hooded in Task Force Saber 7's HQ. They also found torture equipment, bloody clothing, handcuffs, and blindfolds. The prisoners said that they were tortured and forced to confess to crimes that they had not committed. After Afghan
Well, that sounds
police
like
arrested
Jack.
the members of Task Force Saber 7, they were taken to a jail run by Afghanistan's Intelligence and Security Service, the NDS.
None of you tell the truth, you all fucking lie, so. What's your message? Press
Don't be that way, Jack. feet are very sensitive. Getting feet beatings must suck, man. I don't know. I haven't sustained like foot stuff, so I couldn't tell
we
you.
were working for the U.S.
My feet are very
counterterrorist group,
ticklish.
working with the Pentagon and some other federal
So
agencies.
you're working with U.S. knowledge, with U.S. government knowledge.
We were in touch with the Pentagon sometimes 5 times a day at the highest level, every day.
They've denied that. They've denied you completely.
Well, we're prepared to show emails and correspondence and tape-recorded conversations that show that's not true.
Jack also claimed that the FBI had confiscated hundreds of documents, videotapes, and files, which he could have used as exculpatory evidence. And
how
surprisingly,
convenient.
this was true. The FBI, which, from what I understand, shouldn't have any jurisdiction in Afghanistan, seized all of Jack's materials and held on to them for 21 days.
Additionally, there have been
that
problems
surprised
with
me.
reviewing the evidence.
After the FBI returned some of his materials, Jack tried to present his case in court that he was in fact working on behalf of the U.S. government by showing tapes and other files. One tape showed that Jack was in contact with the office of Lieutenant General Boykin, former U.S. Deputy Undersecretary for Defense.
So he actually
On the tape, Jack speaks to Lieutenant General Boykin's secretary, George Shim, who promises Jack that someone from the DIA would call him back on his cell phone.
So we were trying to put a firewall between your efforts and him because we didn't want to connect anything there. And there's no
Holy shit, what?
This was Jack's cell in Policharki prison. Jack, Bennett, Caraballo, and their Afghan translator were isolated in one wing where they enjoyed a plush prison experience. They had a laptop, a phone, private bedrooms.
They went to summer
bathrooms,
camp.
Satellite TV, plenty of alcohol, and a small staff of assistants.
What the fuck?
So their surroundings looked more like a suite than a prison cell. However, it wasn't always easy living. On 3 occasions, riots broke out inside of the prison. 4 guards and 1 Afghan member
Rioting
of Task
for
Force
what? An
Sabre
extra
7
TV?
died in
Another
a
flat
firefight
screen?
while protecting the 3 Americans.
I could walk out of this prison in one snap of my fingers, and that is no bullshit.
Do
I'll
it.
snap my fingers tomorrow.
Call him on it.
Panjshir soldiers will come over these walls, and they'll kill every motherfucker in this prison that isn't Panjshir.
While in prison, Jack started
Fucking
a
call him
website
on it. I
called
want to see him do
Super
it.
And
Superfly! Who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? I'm your daddy. Yeah, your mama. I'm your daddy. Superfly. Go to Joe Cartoon side. Cause I'm your daddy. Superfly. I'm your daddy. Who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? I'm your daddy.
What the fuck is this? What they saw on the Ring VHS tape? What was it? What was his channel? Edema fan? This seems like this could be it. Jack Edema and his infamous Japanese sword practice an ancient art. That technique is flawless. In 20 FPS? No, it's actually a 60 FPS video, but he slowed the footage down so you can actually see his moves. His Bushido is legendary. Like a ballerina is right. That footwork.
Again, all I could see was him. A bad dye job. He was sweating, and I could see little beads of hair dye. And I thought, oh my goodness, yikes. You know, he's got like hair dye, sweat, and he's shorter than I thought. And on the phone, he would always laugh and joke when he was calling me from Policharki about how people would make fun of him because they said he was so short and he never was short. And I thought, he is short. He's really short. So anyway, so I was all excited to see him, and I just looked at him,
not
and
easy
he
being
just
our height,
started
I'll
being
tell you
Jack.
what.
He started being loud, obnoxious, showing off, and I see him climbing up the building. And I'm like, whoa, what's he doing? And he didn't stop. He just kept climbing
Then
up
he
the
did an
building.
Assassin's
like
Creed
Spider-Man.
dive off
you know,
the-
and I
the
looked at the
rooftop.
people around me now are looking, and
Little bale of hay.
I just met him. So they're like, is that your boyfriend or your husband or whatever? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, what's he doing? I'm like, he forgot the keys. He's getting them. And somebody said, go down. Nope. He had to come down the same way he went up.
Oh,
and now
Jesus
I'm totally
Christ.
freaking out. I'm embarrassed. I'm humiliated. And he's like, everybody thinks this is cool. And I'm like, oh, this guy's fucked up.
Soon, Jack rented a condo in Mexico, but in time he was evicted from it after he was arrested for...
Honestly, sounds like me in my freshman year of college. Like doing the stupidest shit in the world because I convinced myself in my head that everyone else thinks it's cool, even though it's the lamest thing imaginable. like wearing my favorite Xbox game disc on a chain around my neck. Poor Jack just never had anyone to tell him that. My heart breaks for him.
Nothing was making sense. It was insanity. The next thing I knew, he's on the phone telling me, well, I'll have to put that on hold now because now I got to get out of here real quick. They want me out. Fuck them. I was going to leave anyway, but I'm suing them all. And I'm like, oh my God.
What a
Where
fucking
are you going? He goes, well, I met this guy, Gringo Dave, who's got a really great mansion in Bacalar. And then I realized it was just drills just to make sure we were prepared because as the walls got higher, the paranoia grew with it. He would put a gun in a baggie to go take a shower. Nothing made any sense. In his mind, it was all perfectly normal. But
he looks perpetually like Ron Perlman trying to play like a character. It's hard to... It's like if Duke Nukem was played by Ron Perlman after like a bender, like a week-long bender. Like everything about him is so cartoonish. It's weird. It's so eerie. Lou Ferrigno? No, it's definitely more like Duke Nukem-ish, Ron Perlman kind of vibes. Like he actually just looks like a toy soldier. Like Small Soldiers, the movie. He's like a little bite-sized Marine guy, but never a Marine. Only a chronic liar. Wearing sunglasses, shirtless, inside, lifting weights. Every picture we've seen of him so far, except for maybe a couple, he has been wearing these shades. It's like a part of his body, like an extension of his eyes. I don't think we've seen his eyes more than twice in this entire hour-long video. He is always rocking these shades.
It was around this time that Jack got started on his next business venture, a military air cargo company called Star Aviation.
Jesus
Christ. It never got off the air. And it was Jack's fault, nobody else's, because we had the meetings and everything else. We had the funding. We had all the DOD clearances.
How do they have the funding? This guy was literally convicted of lying about everything and spent years in jail. How would he secure funding? How does that happen? What the fuck? How? I don't get it.
He purchased a pontoon boat and started a company called Blue Lagoon Boat Tours, and he made a website for the business called oceans11mexico.com.
The boat tours, it had to be based on Jack Sparrow. And,
that's cool, though.
He had to act like, and he would actually stand in front of the mirror and act like that. Did I get it yet? Am I acting like him? Am I doing it right?
Jack flew a pirate flag over his compound.
She's mocking him, but that honestly just sounds cute.
That's because it sounded like a cool pirate name to him.
The building over to Jack. And John didn't want to do that to Jack. He didn't want to give Jack the building. He still wanted it in his name.
Jack wanted to inherit a company called Isabeau Dakota. Isabeau Dakota functioned as a shell company to conceal Jack's assets from creditors. Flush with the money he inherited from his father's estate, he started using large amounts of anything he could get his hands on, such as cocaine, heroin, and booze.
His dealings with the bizarre demographics of people that were coming in and out made it not happy, and that was also when his drinking and his drug use was in...
In time, Jack lost interest in being intimate with Penny. He instead preferred to keep company with a young college student named Fernando and a transgender sex worker named Nancy. He started hosting all-night orgies at his compound, which he advertised on gay hookup sites.
Orgies?
How did you feel like when you actually realized that Jack was gay?
I guess it bothered me when I saw him making out with a man and he wasn't making out with me like that.
Penny left Mexico with the intention of never seeing Jack again. But then the exact same day that she landed in Connecticut, Jack got into a life-threatening car accident. In the hospital, Jack called Penny's phone and said this.
Bueno?
Hello?
Hello?
Jack there?
Huh?
Jack?
Jack, oh, okay. Take the fucking board out. Listen to me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I leave everything to Penny. I need to manage it with her. Be good things. I don't know about Nina. She was okay, but I think she's in the hospital too. I have concussion. I have a fractured skull in the
Jesus Christ.
Chart. You put me in here in Sarge. Okay?
Okay.
That's all he has to say?
Where are you?
I'm in the hospital in Kimball. I'm trying to get them to move me to a private hospital before I die because I have internal bleeding and they won't even look at it.
Okay, should I call the embassy and try to get the embassy involved?
No.
Wow.
I'll take you to the private hospital, dude.
Jack called Dr. Phil.
When I was on my
It did
way
sound like
back
Dr. Phil.
to America, on his way back to Bacalar, he had that accident, and everything changed from that point on.
A few days later, Penny returned to Mexico to take care of Jack and to help him rehabilitate. Jack started to abuse the pain medication he was prescribed to, as well as illegal drugs and alcohol.
I was getting sicker, and he decided that I should go be tested for HIV. To my surprise, he wanted to get the same test. I thought that was odd. I thought all this was odd. We got tested, and the results came back, and they were positive for HIV.
Oh my God, what the fuck?
And I wanted to make sure what I was hearing was proper because I didn't think it was right. But Dr. Dennis said that Jack was going to get worse, but I could go home and I could get better. And Jack freaked out. Jack just went ballistic. He took the phone, he broke it, and I honestly thought I was going to die. That was all I thought. I went home, I got to get away. I was quiet. I told just a select few people that I had this. Then I called up Jack and told him how sick I was, and I just collapsed. Jack wanted me down there immediately. He also didn't want me, and he kept saying, I hope you're not telling anybody, I hope you're not telling anybody, and I needed help. I couldn't tell him that because I wasn't allowed to say anything, but I needed help. I was scared. Nina is the dog that was rescued from Afghanistan that came to me, and Tinka was our Mexican kitty. So in July, I made plans to go back. I walked into the house and it was different. Everything was different. It wasn't clean like it used to be. There was dead flies everywhere. The door was broken. And he just looked at me and he was happy to see me, but his eyes were just black. He looked like he had been up for days. He reeked of alcohol, cigarettes. Natalie, the maid, she was telling me other people were coming too. So everything was there and they were getting worse and everybody was still coming in. All of the sex fest constant, it was worse than ever. Okay, and how many people have got this now? My plan was
Christ, he just tested positive for HIV.
When I say that was the plan, if you can understand this and try to wrap your brain around this, the plan involved killing Jack and getting my dog and my cat. So I went into the bedroom, I took the gun out from underneath the pillow, and he was at the computer. I don't really know what the hell happened, but he grabbed me and he started hitting my head into the marble stone, whatever the heck the place was made of.
Shit!
Just kept hitting my head into it nonstop. I'm petrified of mice. So he put a couple in a bag and put them over my head with the bag. And I fainted. And now I've got like bites on me. My head's still killing me, by the way, from having it slammed. And my eye was so messed up. So I was freaking out. So he took the cuffs off. He started being nice. And he said, just tell me who you're working with.
She went back for the animals.
I wasn't working with anybody. Okay, again, the paranoia was kicking in. He was messed up, completely messed up. The Noblefina he was putting in me, he was putting 10 times in himself. Plus he was doing coke, he was doing everything. He was drinking like there was no tomorrow.
I will never understand the human body. Sometimes people will eat like an expired grape and fucking die on the spot. Meanwhile, this guy is injecting himself with 10x the necessary dosage of a pretty hardcore substance, as well as doing coke and heroin, and doesn't die, all while having untreated HIV as well. How the fuck does that happen? That blows my mind. This is crazy. Yeah, I know like tolerance and everything, but even still, that's so superhuman. Fuck me, man. What a crazy turn. Well, I guess it's not even like an unexpected turn from the story. Jack's entire life has just been an absolute tragedy of his own making. Just an absolute fucking disaster. Like an actual biologically bred loser in every category. Just an actual piece of shit from top to bottom. Jack is a superhuman whose blood consists of 100% drugs. I guess so, man. There's just more coke than water in his body. Like, it blows my mind. I actually just don't believe it.
So he comes up and he says, he's like, there's 2 fucking bastards downstairs you've got to talk to. My friend got in touch with Ed Carabella and he called the Mexican embassy, and there was 2 guys to come to get me. They came to check the situation to see if I was there. The guy that wasn't speaking Spanish, that was speaking English to me, goes over to me, he goes, it's really good to meet you. And he put his hand out. When he put his hand out, I grabbed his hand and I took my fingernails and I stuck them in his hand. So he realized what was going on. So he held on to my hand for a minute. Jack goes, what the fuck's going on? And he just went like this. He squeezed them back like he knew I was in trouble and he was going to get me out.
Kind of galaxy brain.
Okay. So who did I work for? Who sent me there? I kept saying, I don't know what you're talking about because I don't work for any of these people. I don't know these people. Yes.
I still can't believe he ever got out of jail to begin with. I really can't.
No. And then I heard a really familiar voice. He's like, Plumber. He's like, didn't you go back to America? Jack said you go back to America. I'm like, no, I can't get out of here. I go, but Nina and Chica, I came back for them. He goes, you gotta go. Come on. He goes, I can't save you if you don't come. I had to leave them. So we're running, and his helpers are trying to distract Jack. And the plumber gets me in his car. He goes, you stay there. He goes, I'll call police. He goes, you call police, you call people in America. He goes, you gotta get out of here. You can't stay here. He goes, I'll get you out. He goes, just let the police come. Go to the police.
I feel like any minute now, though, Jack's gonna OD and die.
They interrogated me. They asked me.
There's no way he has long left.
And
shit got so dark.
Charges, and they put me under
that's what happens with a man who has unchecked mental illness his entire fucking life. Is a chronic liar and absolute piece of shit.
And
he should have never got out of jail.
Airport, just stay there.
He literally tortured people pretending to be a fucking secret agent.
According to local news reports, local police in Mexico want very much police to talk to him about accusations that he held people in his house against their will.
I thought that was when the nightmare ended.
I love the title of that story. World's creepiest guy is back. Or returns. So even, like, during his reign of infamy, he was still viewed as an absolute sleazy, creepy guy. This man has been a loser his entire fucking life.
After the deadline passed, Henny sold the deed of the Isabeau Dakota building for $10. In retaliation, Jack, along with loyal fans he met online, posted revenge porn of Henny to blogs. Pictures which they also sent to her parents.
Jack all started
What fans could he have possibly garnered while fucked up beyond belief for what? How long has this been now? Like a year? How was their fan? I guess when like they talk about him as the world's creepiest guy, people must have like been a fan or something, I guess. I have no fucking clue. That blows my mind though. Unless it was people like ironically pretending to like Jack. Alarming amount of psychopaths like this guy. Yeah, but they're not watching World's Creepiest Guy segments on Fox News. Or whatever that was. Yeah, I know that. The true crime weirdos. I know that, but like he's not even a serial killer. He's just a serial liar who pretended to be a G.I. Joe, Navy SEAL, super specialist, spec ops, whatever. Like he didn't even do anything besides like pretend to be those things and then torture people in Afghanistan.
January of 2012, we talked, and I knew what was coming. We talked on Skype for the last time, and I said, you know what's going to happen. He knew what was going to happen, and
probably the last time anyone used Skype.
He said he was sorry. He hopes I could forgive him, and I said, yeah, but I really can't. I don't know, whatever. And I said, I'll see you on the other side. And I said, I'll call you Friday night. And he said, well, that may not happen. And I did try to call, but the phone just kept ringing. And he was dead the next day.
How did you feel?
Relieved.
Yeah, it sounds like good news.
Sad, relieved, and also, as a result of what he did to me, not only the eye problem, but because of that, I also am now on seizure medicine. And I'm also on a blood thinner because I had a blood clot go into my brain because of the eyes and the seizures. It's hard with all this bad and what was left. What he left me with and what I remember are two different things.
Christ.
Thank you.
Well, I'll remember Jack is an absolute massive piece of shit.
Oh, God, that was hard.
His entire life, he lived a lie of fanfic of a G.I. Joe super soldier. Damn, Oki went so deep into this. That whole Penny interview is wild. He did such a great job of conducting that interview. What an incredible story Oki told here. He flew to meet her for it? Yeah, I know, I heard. No, Oki only makes masterpieces, man. Oki will spend 6 months on a video and drop one of the hottest bangers of all time. Oki's also the one behind the secret space program. Well, he didn't make the cult, but like he was the one that like brought the secret space program to the public eye.
Hey, Penny.
Hi.
So you saw the documentary. What did you think?
I loved it. I'm so pleased with the documentary. Always suing somebody, even when he was incarcerated, he was suing. But unless
Penny, let's be real here. He was never like incarcerated. That prison he went to was literally like band camp. This dude had a suite with his friends, and they just played games and drank. He was posting videos while in jail. Like, I'm not surprised he was able to keep suing while in that prison. I don't understand. That actually looked better than almost every New York City apartment I've ever seen in a video. Like, he was living a lavish life while in jail. That shit looked like straight out of Baki the Grappler.
Sir Edward Artis and Robert Pelton reached out to me, and they were just such guiding forces in my life. They kept me together. They worked with me.
Bro, shoutouts to Edward Artis. He was the first one in this documentary that immediately called Jack exactly what he was. Just a serial bullshit artist, scumbag loser. Artis has hated this man for, this is 2012 she's talking about, so for exactly like 10 years now, right? So Artis was on that grind. He knew from the get-go, like right off rip. Artis knew, he pinned him right away. Shout out Ed Artis.
To get through all this.
Thank you to all of my patrons who've helped make this documentary possible.
What a crazy
I've spent
fucking
several
ride.
months and thousands of dollars on this project, and I probably won't even make a quarter of it back relying on YouTube ad revenue alone. So there's perks. You get director's commentary on all of my videos, uncut interviews, early access to my videos, early cuts of my projects, your name at the end of each video, as well as a digital comic tied to my Secret Space Program video, which features me as a space samurai fighting Kevin Spacey's clone in outer space.
For those that don't remember, this is from the Secret Space Program video. That's the one that you guys might remember, where it's a group of people, and they have an internet presence, that believe that they were abducted as children and forced to fight in an intergalactic war against the Nazis. And there's vampires, there's werewolves, immortal gladiator super soldiers. It's so good. And Oki convinced them for his documentary. He convinced them that he was an ancient samurai, and they even called him to like one of their conventions to speak and tell their story. Or tell his story, and he brought up Mr. Beast, saying that Mr. Beast funded him as a samurai or something like that. I'm foggy on the details, but he fought Kevin Spacey. It's so good.